That's the wrong name. Hello everybody, my name is Kelsey and we're about to get very, very nerdy with the Bookternet All Star Challenge. So this has been floating around for probably about a couple of weeks by the time that you're seeing this, but this was created by Rachael Marie basically to raise money for COVID-19. All you have to do, whether you are on YouTube, whether you're on Twitter, you have your own blog, you're on Instagram, literally whatever social media that you have that you can dedicate to books, you can do the challenge by just answering simple questions based on this lovely like tic-tac-toe board type thing that she has created, which is amazing. So I will leave a link down below to her video kind of talking about this, what it means, all of that kind of stuff, and how you can enter to raise money. You can participate in this, and the only thing that you have to do is look at this beautiful tic-tac-toe spreadsheet type board and talk about the popular authors or book series if you've read them, if you haven't, and why, and use the hashtag BookterNetGivesBack. If you put your name in a spreadsheet, basically based on how many people are in there, she will donate €1 to the fund, pick a winner, and at the end of, I believe it is May, she will reach out to the winner and that person will pick the charity that all this money goes for. As of recording this, I literally just looked it up. They've raised over £225 and her goal was 75. So we're doing good. So, like I said, in her video we'll have a link to this, so if you want to donate money, if you want to be part of where the decision to where this money goes, it'll all be in her video. But today I'm going to be participating and talking about some of these authors and book series, and let's be honest, I haven't read a lot of them. So basically what we're going to do today is I'm going to make a fool of myself for charity. So what better reason to do it? So let's just get started. The first spot on this board is an author, and that is Angie Thomas, who I have read nothing by. So she has 2 books that have come out recently. Obviously the one that many people know is The Hate You Give, and her most recent one, On the Come Up. The Hate You Give I should have read. I know that. I think the hype got to me, and so I never really wanted to pick it up. But it is a book that I definitely want to read at some point. I'm just not sure when. On the Come Up, however, I'm not really interested in because I'm not a huge fan of books that revolve around like rock bands and musicians. And our main character in this book is really into rap. It's just not my favorite. Like, it's just not something that I like steer towards, which is why I, to this day, am never going to read Daisy Jones and the Six because it's about a rock band and I just don't care. So that one I don't think I'm ever going to actually get around to. But The Hate You Give, I do want to get around to at some point. So fingers crossed that I can do that relatively soon because like everybody loves this book and everyone talks about this book, and for good reason. I just am late to the party. The next spot is a series, and that is the Shatter Me series. Now this is a series that like everyone talks about, and I don't know if I'm interested in reading it, to be honest. I haven't read it, obviously, but I don't know if I'm actually interested in getting around to it. I don't know, like there's just something about it that like high school Kelsey would have loved this series, I feel like. But now Kelsey, who's kind of grown up a little bit, I feel like this is just not for me because of where my reading tastes are now. I'm not saying that like people who are 25 and older can't read that book. No, I'm just saying that like where my reading tastes are right now, this doesn't really fit in well with that, and I just don't think I'm ever going to get around to it, to be honest. The next one is another author, and that is Leigh Bardugo, and I have something to talk about because I have read some of her books. I have read the Six of Crows duology, which is Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom, which I still don't have my copies of because my brother-in-law has them and has had them for a while. No shame, I just don't have them right now. These are the only 2 books by her that I have read. I don't have really any interest in the trilogy that comes before this that's set in the Grishaverse, and I don't really have any interest in the, what was the other one? The King of Scars, I believe is what it is. So anything else set in the Grishaverse, I just like, I am happy with having read these 2. I don't like feel like I need to read the others. However, her Dark Academia book, Ninth House, I do have an audiobook of and would like to get to at some point. I just haven't because when it came out, I did get the audiobook because of all the hype. And then I've heard some mixed things about, and so like I'm not entirely sure when I want to get around to it. I still want to read it, I just don't know when. So I've read 2 of hers, and I plan to read 1 more. And the next series is one that I've read all of it, and oh, I could talk about it. And that is the Cruel Prince series by Holly Black, which is The Cruel Prince, The Wicked King, and The Queen of Nothing. I believe I gave all of these 4, maybe the first one got 3.5 because I wasn't in love with how slow it was, but I remember the others getting like 4s. So this was a pretty decent series for me. I did really enjoy this one. I know people who don't like this one, and I totally understand. It's the writing style. A lot of people don't really mesh with Holly Black's writing style. I do. I love it. So this series is one that I love. I have read something on this list. Oh, my camera just shook. The next one is another series, and that is the Bone Witch series, which again is another series that I haven't read, but this one I know for a fact I'm not gonna ever read. It, I believe, is about like necromancy and that kind of thing, and like I don't really like reading about that kind of magical ability, and I don't know. Convince me if you love the series, but that's just not one that I think I'm ever going to get around to. The next one is V.E. Schwab, or Victoria Schwab, who is a huge booktube favorite. Like, almost everybody and their brother has read books by her. And I haven't, but she's one that I want to read. So I do own the entire A Darker Shade of Magic trilogy, and I do really want to get into these, because this is just like, this just sounds like my thing, and I think that I really, really like it. I don't think I'm gonna read her, was it Vicious? Like duology about the guys. The things that I've heard about that one, that's just not for me. But this sounds interesting. That duology she has about the singing monsters, this Savage Song I think is what it is, that sounds interesting to me. But I'm going to start with this series just because it's the one I have. But also I want to make sure that like her writing style meshes with me before I like invest and like get deep into like the V.E. Schwab books. So the next one is another series, and that is the Cinder series, which I only have the first 3 of, but it's Cinder, Scarlet, I'm going backwards. Cinder, Scarlet Cress, and Winter. I haven't read this series, but I plan to. And it's basically like fairy tale retellings, but like in sci-fi, because Cinder is the retelling of Cinderella. And I believe Scarlet is the Lord Riding Hood, and Cress is Rapunzel, and then I think Winter is Snow White. I did start this one. I got this one from the library like a few years ago. I did start it, and I remember enjoying what I'd read of it, but I hadn't read enough to really get invested, and then of course somebody else had this book, and so I had to return it. But I think I'm gonna like it, because I do like fairy tale retellings. I do have plans to read it. I just don't know when. The next one is another author, and that is Adam Silveira. And I have technically read something of his, and that one is the one that he wrote with Becky Albertalli, which is What If It's Us? But I've never read anything that's like one of his solo works, because honestly, none of his books sound interesting to me, except for They Both Die at the End. That one does sound interesting, and I might get around to that one at some point, but most of the books that he writes, just like, the topics don't intrigue me. But he wrote this one with Becky Albertalli, and I read it because Becky Albertalli. I'm not sure if I'm ever going to read anything else by him, but I have technically read something by him. The next one is one of the like most talked about, I feel like, and that is Cassandra Clare, who wrote the entire Shadowhunter world. And I haven't read anything by her, but I'm planning on reading The Infernal Devices. So I have this first copy because this is my roommate's favorite book, and she sent me, this is my roommate's favorite series, let me rephrase that. She likes the Shadowhunter world, so she sent me a copy of this because she's like me and collects multiple copies of her favorite books. So I have a copy that I'm borrowing so that we can read it together, because this trilogy, out of basically all the other ones, is the one that interests me because it's set in Victorian England. And like, yes, that's all I need to know. So I have plans to read this trilogy, but I don't think I'm planning on reading like the main 6 anytime soon. So like, I'm gonna dip my toe into this world and see if I enjoy it. I don't know if I'm gonna like be devoured and like love all of her books, but I think that this series I will really enjoy. So I'm gonna try her out and see what happens. Sorry if the angle has changed. I had to switch stuff around. My phone is being stupid. But the next one that's on this lovely tic-tac-toe list is another book that's pretty popular, and I'd be surprised if you haven't heard of it, and that is The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This one was super popular like a couple years ago, and then her newest one, Daisy Jones and the Six, came out, and then people loved that one. Like I said earlier, I don't plan on reading Daisy Jones and the Six, but I do plan on reading this one because it sounds really interesting. I believe that there's some LGBTQIA+ representation in here as well, and there's just a lot about this book that I love, and so I for sure will be reading this. I just don't know when. It's in my fiction TBR jar, so at some point. The next one is another author that I'm sure you've heard of, and that is Laini Taylor. And she is pretty well known for doing the Strange the Dreamer series, or duology. And I haven't read anything by her. However, the more I look at this book, the more I'm interested in it. So I might actually give this one a try at some point in the future, maybe borrow it from the library, just to see what everyone has been talking about. But I've heard things about her writing, and I'm not entirely sure it's for me. So like, I want to give her a shot, because it might be the most beautiful writing that I've ever witnessed, and it might be just my thing. But I've never read anything that I think is similar to what hers sounds like, and I'm not sure. So she's been put off for a while just because like the writing style scares me, but I do plan on giving her a shot at some point. I'm just not sure when. Oh my goodness. The next one is a series that I'm sure you've heard of, and I have read everything in it, and I love it. It's so good, and they're heavy, but that is the Illumination Files series by Amy Kaufman and J. Kristoff. Oh my goodness. I'm sure you've heard about these. People talk about them all the time. They're amazing. I love them. They are kind of the reason that I really started getting into sci-fi when I first started my YouTube channel, because I had read, or I saw this one in the library, and I'd heard things about it, and I gotta put these down. And it's that unique style I'm sure many people have mentioned on here, which is the mixed media. There is files in here, there is data in here, there's countdowns in here. Like, there is so many different things within these pages, like transcripts. That's really what grabbed my attention, but I didn't know if I was going to like it, because I thought one of the things that I had heard someone say about the series was that it was hard to connect to the characters because of that. And so I did see it in the library, and I thought, you know, I'll give it a chance. I'll start it. If I don't like it, it's fine. I can just return it. And pretty sure I read this gigantic book like 3 days. So it's very, very good. It's such a good series, but it really started my sci-fi. And like, now I have an entire sci-fi section on my shelves because of this, and it's just it's very good. I loved it a lot. The next one is another very popular book series, and that is the Scythe series by Neal Shusterman. Now, this is a series that I really thought about starting. It sounded interesting. The whole thing that surrounds death was like a little weird, but I was like, maybe I'll give it a shot. And then the third one came out, and everyone, like, most people that I saw were really, really disappointed with it. And so it's kind of put me off on reading it. Maybe one day in the future, I'm not saying no to this one. Maybe one day I'll borrow the first one from the library and give it a shot and see if I do enjoy it, because who knows? I might actually really enjoy the last book, because I'm weird like that. But it's still not a never. It's just a not right now. The next one is another really, really big name here on BookTube, and that is Sarah J. Maas, who is known for mostly, I think, the ACOTAR series, A Court of Thorns and Roses? Sure. I've never read anything by Sarah J. Maas, but this series is really intriguing to me, and her new book, The House of Earth and Blood, or Crescent City, or whatever it's called, I'm intrigued by that one as well. The Throne of Glass series that she has, I have no interest in, because like, I don't really like books about assassins and things like that. So like, that one doesn't sound like me, but this one does, and Crescent City does. I have the ebook of the very first one. I've got an ebook of ACOTAR, but I haven't actually gotten around to reading it, but I want to, because she's one that I wasn't sure about for a while, but the more I heard what people said about her, she sounds like my kind of writer. Even the things that people didn't like about her, I was like, but I would like that. And so I think that she's going to be one that I really am going to love. So I think I'm going to start with this series at some point. I just don't know when. So yeah. I'm just behind is basically what I'm learning. The next one is another series that I haven't started, and that is An Emperor in the Ashes. And this is one that I'm also not saying never to, but I don't really have any reason. Like, I don't have any desire to read it right now. Maybe at some point, maybe I'll try the first one out and just see if I like it, but this one is not one that's really high up on my radar right now either. Alright, the next one is another author, and that is Seanan Maguire, who wrote the Wayward Children's series. I've only got the first and the third one, which is Every Heart a Doorway and Beneath the Sugar Sky. Now, this is a series that I really do want to read because I like really short books, and this whole like world, people traveling to different worlds and then having to deal with what happens when they come back really intrigues me, and I've heard lots of really good things about this series. So I am very intrigued by this series, and I'm also really intrigued by her Middle Game, I think that's what it's called, Middle Game series? Not series, but the Middle Game book. People like loved that book, and I'm really intrigued to see if I'm going to like it. So she's not an author that I've read anything by, but I have plans, and I do want to read things from her. I just haven't. Yeah. The next book series is the Poppy War series, and there's only 2 out right now. I'm not sure if there's going to be any more, but this is one that I haven't read, and I'm not going to ever read because nothing about this world intrigues me. Nothing about the plot intrigues me. It sounds okay, but like, it's just not for me. So that one's a no. And the very last one, I promise we're at the end, is To All the Boys I've Loved Before trilogy by Jenny Han. I love these books. I've read all of them. The first 2 have been made into Netflix movies. I love this series. This is like a very quick, easy, what's a palate cleanser, I guess is the word I'm looking for. There's not much depth that goes into this. And there are things about the movies that I appreciate more over the books. For example, like Movie Peter is 10 times better than Book Peter. But I still really enjoyed this, and I liked the quickness of it because the chapters are like really, really short. And I think the first one out of all 3 is my favorite. The other 2 were good, but they didn't like stack up in my head as much as the first one did. So I did really enjoy these. If you like quick, fun YA romance, rom-com-y type books, like these are your books. But like, don't expect a lot of depth and thought from them. Just expect like, they're fun. I loved them. So that's about it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to click the link down below to Rachel's video to learn all about this. If you want to participate in this, if you want any of the prompts or like the pictures and everything, if you want to donate, the link is in her description. Like, please check it out, and don't forget to use the hashtag BookternetGivesBack. That's all I've got for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know if you do actually do this, because I would love to know some of your answers to these. Like, if you've read any of these books, I almost said to these questions. If you've read any of these books or any of these authors, let me know if there's a series on here that like I haven't read and I don't seem interested in that she is your favorite. I would love to know why. Like, tell me something about these books and why you love them, because it might totally change my mind and I might actually want to give these a try. So I'd love to hear from you. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you did like this video, make sure to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe down below if you want to be part of this awesome growing family. I have all my social media down there as well. Don't forget to check out the link, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!